those that are in school in our communities going home to their mom and dads, but it's those youth that don't get to go home to their mom and dads. So thank you.
Yeah, I want to extend an appreciation for their work too. I mean, I've had friends and stuff who are single parents whose kids and stuff have had bigs, and it has had a big impact on them too in a very positive way. So I've seen it firsthand around here in South County, and obviously, with the need more mentors and especially young boys and stuff, I hope we do have more people stand up and step up, especially since we do have people in our community who have the time available to do it and the hearts as well. So I'm looking forward to that.
To my right.
Thanks for the work, and definitely the impact on the kids is profound. It's also profound on the people who get to be involved. It's where I've been in education for 27 years, and one of my first jobs was in San Diego at a Boys and Girls Club, and kind of directed that path forward. So it's mutual when you get involved. So thank you so much.
We really appreciate all you do, and as she said, it makes a difference on both sides. And if we can get them young, then we don't have to worry about them when they're older because they're raised properly. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to be out here. So thank you. Okay. All right. Now we will move on to our presentations, and we have two tonight, both being presented by the Community Services Supervisor, Larry Kim. We will start with the Holiday of Lights Awards.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Dee, and Council for having me here today. With the holidays just fresh in our minds, in December, at our December Parks, Recreation, and Beautification Commission meeting, we had the pleasure of selecting our Holiday of Lights Award winners. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for the entire community for putting on an incredible display of lights throughout the city. We actually had close to 30 nominations that were submitted not only through our commissioners, but through local residents themselves. So I know our Parks Commission had a difficult time selecting winners. But I'm here to actually present the winners today through this presentation, and we do have a few of them who are here to receive their award in person. So quickly, if we want to begin, we had our residential awards first. And our first one is our best overall residential display. It was 284 North 14th Street. All these photos were actually submitted by the people nominating them. Most of people, I know that will recognize many of these homes because we've had an interactive map up right after the actual commission meeting where people were able to drive by and see the winners and all the nominations. So for best overall display, we have 284 North 14th Street. For best use of animation and or craftsmanship, we have this happy 558 North 14th Street. For our Clark Griswold Award for Extraordinary Use of Lights, 1041 Margarita. I can tell by the audience reaction that they are very familiar with this one. And for our business awards, we actually had two business awards. Best overall business display came to the Caffeinated Cat Cafe. Followed, and our best use of lights for a business display is one of our new businesses, Mr. Nudes. So we do have a few of them out today, and we do have some of our parks commissioners here as well. I believe our chair and one of our commissioners here. So I'm going to have them come up and present the awards to our recipients that are here today. So I don't know, do we want to bring them up all together or one at a time?
Let's bring them up kind of one by, can you just bring them up one by one, okay. And then?
So if our commissioners can come up. Jeff Lee is in the audience, so and then we can do I don't know if you guys want to do a photo op over here. We're gonna do one at a time. Yeah. We're gonna do this.
Here, no. So how about Mr. Lee? Come on up here, and then you all come up here and stand up, and then we'll all take a picture together. Okay? There we go.
And Anita, if you want to come, thank you. And I could just do a quick picture. If the council would like to come up as well, yeah. Or just stand, yeah.
It's been a while since we've done this where people are here, so.
Here we go. Wonderful. All right. I got one more. Yeah. And I believe we have Rachel from the Caffeinated Cat Cafe here to accept. Perfect. Thank you so much.
All righty. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who decorated for the holidays. It really just lit up our city. So thank you so much. We will now slowly go to the next presentation as he's pulling it up. You ready, Mr. Kim?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no formal presentation, but I just wanted to kind of have these words to explain the award itself. Last year, the California Park and Recreation Society, it's a professional organization for parks and recreation, and every year they recognize municipalities with their awards of excellence. In this particular case, we actually submitted a nomination for Award of Excellence in Design, and through our district, which is District 8, which covers San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, and Ventura County, we were selected with a 2025 Award of Excellence in Design for our new Mentone pickleball courts. So for the explanation of this award, the award recognizes excellence in design of completed park facilities intended for public use. The project may be new or rehabilitation project that demonstrates high standards in planning, design, community involvement, operation, and maintenance, quality of aesthetics, usability, accessibility, and versatility. The award further recognizes planning and development or significant rehabilitation of outdoor parks and recreation spaces where the majority of the site does not contain buildings, structures, or facilities that result in higher levels of community use. Our district covers 3 counties, and we were the only pickleball courts selected in the area, and I fully plan on recognizing this because I think it was a multi-year project to get us here, and overall the community response has been overwhelming. So I'm here to present the award to the council and the commission today.
Great job.
And I don't know why I'm sounding so nervous. I apologize. Because I've already received it. Yeah.
Oh, very nice. Oh, perfect. Should we take a picture? Yeah, come on. All right, council comments for either presentation, the Holiday of Lights, or the Pickleball Court Award? Anything? Go ahead.
I love the fact that the city gets involved with the holiday lights and pickleball courts, and I know the Park and Recs is going to work real hard next year and really do up the parks, the lights, and I really appreciate the web site that you can go and nominate people, and so we just encourage people to do that next year and really make a big event out of it and have fun at the pickleball courts. And thank you for all you do, Larry, very much. Thank you. And the commission. Thank you.
Do you have any?
Just thank you for all that you do, not just here, but all of the work the Parks and Recs do to make this a rich, vibrant community. And it was a great holiday season, so thanks. Never mind the parade, but that's not what we're talking about right now.
To my left.
Same here. I just love all the awards and the celebration. And the only thing I would like to add is maybe one day we'll have one of those fabulous drone shows for the holiday as well. Just
You listening, Chief?
maybe.
Ditto to everything, and of course, just for everyone too to remember that next year you could win more awards in the holiday lights as well. So you saw some good ideas up there too. And now everyone's got to step up.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for all the work that you do. I remember this was before you, but when we started the pilot program for the pickleball courts, there was a strong support for it to get it going because it is the fastest growing sport in America, I believe. So very exciting stuff, and I'm grateful for this award. So thank you for all that you do, and great job to everybody. So, okay, all right. That being said, we will move on to our public communications. Thank you, Mr. Kim. We'll move on to our public communications. Our meetings are designed to proceed in an organized and efficient manner to effectively conduct city business. The council welcomes and values public comments, which can be shared at the designated time from the podium using the microphone. The council requests that all comments be addressed to the council as a whole and that the speakers refrain from directing individual comments at staff members. To maintain an orderly process, we kindly ask all attendees to refrain from creating disruptions during the meeting, interrupting speakers who are addressing the council, or impeding the council's ability to conduct business. Should disruptions occur, the council may need to take certain measures, such as calling a recess, clearing the chambers, or in rare circumstances, canceling the meeting. We greatly appreciate your understanding and cooperation in maintaining a productive environment that serves our entire community effectively. And again, because there's so many of you, we want to be respectful to all of our public commenters, so please refrain from if you agree with something, you can do the jazz hands. You can come up during your public comments and say, I agree with that. But we just ask you, please respect all of our speakers and let them speak. During this time, the council will allow public communication. Any member of the public may address the council for a period not to exceed 3 minutes total on any item of interest within the jurisdiction of this council. The council will listen to all communications. However, in compliance with the Brown Act, the council cannot act on or discuss items not on the agenda. I have several speaker slips, so we are going to start with Terry Wingate and then followed by Joy Brem. And please make sure the microphone is to your mouth as well, just before you start.
Hi, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council members. As mentioned, I'm Terry Wingate. I'm approximately a 30-year resident at this point. First of all, I and my tax aid team want to thank you for allowing us to use Ramona Center last year for doing free taxes for the public. And while I'm here, which is really why I am here, I would like to ask for an abatement for this year. I originally had planned coming much earlier for it, but unfortunately things came up. We plan to use the facility 1 day a week from February 3rd through April 14th. And so we would like an abatement of the rental fees if possible. And just a little background on who we are. We're part of the AARP nonprofit foundation called TaxAid. We provide free tax aid for all people, not just seniors. And additionally, no one needs to be a member to take advantage of our services. For over 20 years, our particular unit has operated in Grover Beach. We've helped a great number of people from Grover Beach and the surrounding area, and we've also helped a lot of families get earned income credit. We've helped them when they have letters from IRS, unfortunately, or the Franchise Tax Board. We go ahead and assist them, and some of us are qualified to actually volunteer to talk for them with their permission. And then just a little bit about the team and myself. We've been, well, each year we take CPE classes. We all test out at the advanced level through the IRS diagnostic testing. The equipment provided by the foundation is all checked very closely for security. We have protocols we use, and basically the latest security. And we do ensure a safe experience for all our clients. So once again, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Wingate. Joy Brim, followed by Kelvin Koveduck.
Hello again.
Hi.
I did take your advice and I used emails and I had questions and the guy from the community called me really quickly, and then I also got a follow-up email, which was, I didn't get an answer, but somebody's looking into it, so that worked. And also the, what is her name again? The girl that sits here? Megan.
Miss Martin.
She also emailed me about a traffic study I requested, and that was on the 6th, and then I emailed her back today, so hopefully I'll get to see that. It was a traffic infrastructure study I requested, so she wanted me to be more narrow down it, so I said traffic and parking. I am concerned, and they're going to talk more in detail about the lot size that they're wanting to build on Front Street, because it's not up to code. It's not the right footage. And I know that we have to follow those. When we knocked a house down and rebuilt it, and I have a whole corner out of my house because there was certain footage you have to be from the sidewalk, and they're not. What they're proposing to build is not up to code. And I'm against the height. I think it should be back to 33 feet, which is what the original law was. And I think it would be a good compromise. And I understand he wants to sell that. He probably has no use for it. Could sell it to Grossman, that he could build something, he'd get his money out of it. I get all of that, but not at the expense of our city. But thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Kelvin Koveduck, followed by Christopher Macaron. Yeah, good.
Good evening. Good evening. What I want to talk about is very similar to what Joy was talking about, 359 Front Street. The last city council meeting, we requested that it be included as an agenda item. And I looked at the minutes of the meeting online, and there was no mention of that in the minutes. Our city manager mentioned that we'll put it on the agenda sometime in the spring. So what I'm requesting is a specific date, preferably in February, to put this agenda item, and the agenda item would be to lower the height limit from 40 feet to 33 feet. And if this could be discussed in council communications and included in the minutes, I think that would be wonderful, because if it's not in the minutes, it's almost like it didn't exist, except for you can see it on video when you watch online. So that's something I'm requesting. I think this is my 4th request. I was here in October, November, December, and my streak is continuing into January. So just to get into the building a little bit, they only want 15 feet between the buildings, which is very narrow. And I think the consensus of my neighbors and the people I talk to think that 25 to 30 feet spacing would allow better view corridors for all the city of Grover Beach. And it's not just view corridors for the people that live there, but people who drive down Brighton and Ramona. Because you can go all the way back to 6th and 7th Street, and those views from public areas are going to be obstructed. And whether that's legal or not, that goes back and forth. But my understanding is that the views of the Coastal Act should be protected. They may not be required, but they certainly should be considered for the public. That's mainly what I wanted to say. I know there's some issues with parking. There was a pre-planning commission meeting, and it was packed, even more people than are here today. And we were admonished by the chairwoman, Mrs. Mann, to stick to the cosmetics of the building, choosing the color. So when something like soil contamination came up, she reminded us that's important. She retracted that statement, but that prevented people from calling in. So I believe that pre-planning commission meeting should be rescheduled and done again. It opens up to lawsuits.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Kovtun. Christopher Macaron, followed by Joanna Ruba.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Christopher Macaron. I live on Beckett Place in the Northwest End, and I appear tonight to voice my opposition to the proposed CCB project on Front Street. The gentleman preceding me, Kelvin, I agree with everything you have to say, and I don't want to be redundant and repeated.
Thank you.
Sorry. Recently, I found out that because the project is at least 85% residential, any and all view resource impacts are moot, completely moot. Coastal Act, overridden, both county and local LCPs, overridden. And I ask our district representative to stand with us with his West End constituents in opposing this project at its current stage of development. It would be nice to have the City Council engage directly with CCB and us locals to iron out a compromise that would possibly, at the very least, address our concerns of building heights and view corridors. Furthermore, regarding the ordinance that increased the building heights back during the COVID era, would the City Council consider either eliminating the ordinance in its entirety or putting it on the ballot and let the voters decide? Living with the equivalent of the Berlin Wall is a frightening prospect, but having at least partial views will soften the impact. And that's it.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, we have Joanna Ruba, followed by Linda Walter.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
That's good. I'm also here to talk about the construction, the big condo projects going up. I just recently heard about the Front Street one, and I haven't seen an architectural sketch, but I'm not optimistic given what we've already seen built and planned. I have three main problems with these projects. One, I don't see any affordable housing in them. These are luxury residences. Our county doesn't need luxury residences. It needs workforce housing. If we fill all of these buildings, I have to ask myself, where will the service workers who wait on these people in restaurants, who cut their lawns, who do construction, where are they going to live? They'll have to commute from 2-3 hours away. Second thing is that by design, these buildings are way out of proportion to the surroundings. They're high, they're large, they're not attractive. I live near the ones at 4th and Grandin. I drive by them most days, and they frankly look cheap. I don't see how a wealthy person would want to live in that building. Okay? And of course, the architectural designs, I don't know who is doing this architecture, but there's really nothing attractive about it. There's a very nice little condo building on 4th Street near where I live, and if things look like that, it would be nice. Even the new affordable housing up there by the Poppy gas station, that's pretty attractive, you know, for what it is. At least it fits in to the sort of historic nature of our community. Also, these things, they block views, but they also cast large shadows. I went by the one at 4th and Grand that backs onto 5th Street, and there's a huge chunk of shadow that is going to fall on, you know, the neighboring building. Okay, the last thing is, I've heard, maybe it's just gossip or rumors, that CCB is having a lot of problems with construction elsewhere in the county. Flaws in construction, things like black mold, leaving fans out of bathrooms that have no window. I don't know, you know, what kind of vetting process these builders underwent with you or our planning commission or whatever, but I think you better get secure on that, because otherwise you're going to have just problem construction and lawsuits. That's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Linda Walter, followed by Randy Pfizer.
I've been here before, but my name is Linda Walter, 272 Beckett Place, Grover Beach. I'm here to talk about the proposed project at 359 Front Street. I normally talk about the loss of view caused by going ahead with this project, but tonight I'd like to bring to the forefront some crucial reasons why this project should not go forward. Number one is the parking. Are the proposed spaces for the condos and the mixed-use buildings to code? The required 2-car garage per townhome is in the plan, but what about the condos above the first floor in the mixed-use buildings and the parking for the businesses to be on the first level? From the parking requirements table 3.3, each condo is required to have 1.5 uncovered spaces per bedroom per unit. At the Planning Commission meeting I attended on December 2nd, Scott Martin, who was a representative for Mr. Ford, stated they might be considering using some of the resident parking spaces for parking for the businesses during, for example, 8 to 5, assuming that some of those residents might be at work and those might be available. Well, I don't believe that those can be considered dedicated parking spaces. Also, when Mr. Martin was confronted with the allocation of handicap spaces, his response was that they hadn't really gotten to that point with their plan yet. I also want the council members to know that there is a silent majority out there that doesn't like what's happening in our town. It isn't just a few of us that are showing up here to express our discontent. I've been monitoring some if I can get it on my phone. I've been monitoring some responses on social media. This gal lives in Grover Heights, which isn't even close to where Front Street is. And she says, my view went from panoramic ocean view to a sliver, and now that will even be going away. I now have to see, I won't say the word, blank end of a bunch of buildings that look like medical complexes, and instead of the beautiful ocean that I moved here for, the view, it was really the only reason I decided to move where I am, certainly not for the ridiculously high-priced water, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to go into all that. Another gal says, I remember back in the 80s, we would come here for the dunes when we would be driving down Grand. It would always be such a thrill and a breathtaking thrill to see the ocean as we drove down Grand. Now, what's wrong with these people that they think these sickening buildings are an improvement over the fresh breeze, sea breeze, and priceless view of the ocean? I just want you to consider what's most important short-term accomplishment of satisfying the wishes of developers that once their plans are approved?
Thank you for
Or
your
a
comments,
long-term
Ms.
plan
Walter.
fulfilling the citizens of the community?
Thank you for your
Thank you.
comments. Randy Pfizer, followed by Lauren Westfall.
Hello, everyone. Randy Pfizer, 340 Front Street, Groovy Grover Beach. First thing I want to do is I've realized I've been remiss. I taught at the high school for 20 years. In my last 10 years, my wife bought me a bike and said, get your butt on it, ride it to school. And I did that almost every day for 10 years. And I've been on every street in Grover Beach. At one time or another, while riding my bikes, I would just go different paths. And the change in the streets, the time I was there, was just incredible. How nice the roads were, how smooth, and when you're riding on a bike, you guys know what it's like. And it's gotten better since then, because that was 6 years ago I retired. So, first of all, now for the good news. I'm here to protest the buildings right across the street from me. I have several points also. As I said before, the building height is way too tall, way out of scale with everything. The spacing between the buildings is, in my opinion, too small. All the stuff, the traffic concerns. My wife and I were going to on the 4th Street today from Brighton, and it was like it was almost a minute, and that's before more people come in. And the parking situation, I just can't believe that we won't have problems being on the street and people parking in front of our houses to go visit. Now, if it's a party or something and, you get people, but with this tandem parking, it just doesn't make any sense in my poor little brain. I had one idea, though, that we used to do in Grover. If there was a building that was a possible conflict of some kind, they would put up big old PVC pipes showing the height, the width, the length of it, so people that aren't trained in building and architectural stuff can understand what the size of that is. If it'd be very interesting. It'd take a lot of PVC pipe to show you the outline of this, but that would be one way to say, oh, and come down and look at it. And when you're standing on the street, you'd be looking up like this if you're in the middle of the street. So that'd be one way to kind of help clarify it. And the people that have said, let's look at this again with more public input. I'm sorry I didn't know about it when it first was attacked, and I'd really love to see more input. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Pfizer. Lauren Westfall, followed by Roscoe Das.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council Member. Bet you guys think I'm going to be talking about the buildings. Not. Tonight, I would like to revisit. This is Miss Morningstar. Several months ago, the city manager informed council that all meetings were manually read by contracted staff. According to the Treasury report, we've incurred an expenditure from November 2025 to this year of $45,432 from contracted meter readers. At the last meeting, the city manager said that Grossman was refunded $35,000 due to inaccurate meters that were installed at the Palladium condos. Brand new meters reading incorrectly and so quickly rectified. I attended tonight to address the council regarding the apparent discrepancies between staff's claims of accurate meter readings and the reality of the situation. How can the city justify charging ratepayers for water usage when it's evident by the pictures I'm going to be providing you that they have not been read? Does the city provide meter readers with a precise map of the meter's location on each property, or is it just a treasury hunt? Furthermore, I noticed that the payments are not consistent. So is the meter reader getting paid for skipping meters or reading meters? Because it ranges from $2,900 to $3,800 per month. And I understand that south is different than north. Furthermore, are we expected to verify our own meters every time it's supposed to be a meter reading? Because you guys do not provide a calendar. I contemplated on providing more photographs for South Grover. However, I'm unconcerned whether it's prudent for me to continue to invest my own money and time in producing evidence that the meters are not being read accurately as the city manager claims. But based on your past history, I believe you're going to disregard the evidence that I'm going to be giving you guys and simply accept what the city manager is going to preach to you tonight. I anticipate that his standard response to staff is we need to investigate the matter further and provide a response. He has had over 6 months to look into this matter. Ms. Morningstar concerns have not been rectified. I request this response in public. Since it doesn't concern just you guys, it concerns all of us that are paying these bills. I also asked to justify how Miss Morningstar, one senior citizen, is using 14,960 gallons to 22,440 gallons in a 60-day period. And this has been going on for a year now. 22,440. That's not even a house full of 4 people. And yet you're charging Miss Morningstar, a senior citizen, these rates.
Thank you for your comments,
Enjoy
Ms.
the pictures.
Westphal. Okay, Roscoe Doss. And thank you. To Ms. Sims, please. To Ms. Sims, no, to Ms. Sims, please. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Roscoe Doss, 897 North 1st Street. So I've heard lots of pastors say, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be always acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. I'm a Christian. I've been a Christian for 50 years. I've been up and been down. Some of the main premises of being a Christian is to love your neighbor as yourself. This project at 359 Front isn't loving the majority of Grover Beach. It's loving money. It's loving knocking down views, knocking down wind, knocking down sunsets. Most of the relevant information has already been told by my neighbors. The will of the people is being railroaded by this project. 5 yards in between 40-foot high buildings with rooftop that stretches over 100 yards is not acceptable. Many of the streets are going to get their views cut off. I drove down that street today. It's a beautiful view of the ocean. It's a beautiful view of sunsets. For a long way up, that view is gone. If you put up PVCs and put black fabric in the PVC at each one of those spots and kept them up there for a month, nobody'd want this project. It's not for our city. It's not good. There's got to be alternatives. All it's had is a planning commission. I went to the planning commission. It hasn't even been proposed, I don't believe. I would implore Brad Ford to pull it off the table and do something else. This is not good for Grover Beach. It's not community. It's not family. It's a detriment to the fabric of our community. And this has been, I've been here 40 years, almost. December of 1987. Raised my kids here. Love Grover Beach, but I hate the direction we're going. Thank y'all very much. Thank y'all for what you do.
Thank you for your comments. Order. Thank you for your comments. Okay, I do not have any other speaker slips. Go ahead.
I put one in for the consent agenda. Good evening, everyone. Brenda Auer, local resident for 26 years and business owner of the new Auer Real Estate, catty corner from Miners. I want to say Happy New Year to everyone. We had a beautiful Indian summer day today in Grover Beach. May the God of hope fill you with joy and peace. May you and all of us abound in hope and overflow with good. I have hope. It has been a year, and I still see the council and management continually putting off the community's wishes, as you've heard tonight. I have hope. Hi, Dawn. Welcome. I'm not really one of those people, just so you know. I hope that this will change. Please be an example for the rest of our community. I ask you for transparency as to the following matters, which I've asked many times, and I really would like an answer tonight. Please reply to my request in this city meeting and on public record for all of us who want to know. I've been approached several times over the holidays. This meeting will be at least an hour, and I'm sure you can get someone to provide the information prior to the end of the meeting. Number one, how much did Grover Beach really spend on Central Coast Blue? Was it $3 million, $5 million, $10 million? Number two, how much did Canamus actually profit in 2025? Total revenue minus costs of security cameras, outside consultants, security, etc. In the event you cannot provide me 2025 P&L, please provide me 2024 P&L tonight. The financials are confusing, as the costs of marijuana are all lumped up together in the financials. Why is there no oversight over cannabis? The previous mayor has been put on an oversight committee regarding her own approved spending. Is this legal? Is it right? Previous mayor was clear at the end of her term that she was not interested in city matters any further. This sounds like we're asking the fox to watch the chicken coop. I'm concerned about the experience of our current mayor. Last week, I sent Cassie a copy of the 2007 field study of West Crown Avenue to review. On page 7, it clearly states, do not allow 5-story buildings. Allow 4-story buildings in a few key areas, i.e. North 16th Street and Oak Park intersection of 4th and Grand. Please, all of you review this document. The city clerk can provide it to you, so can Cassie. Review our vision for our community. We've really gone astray. From hotel to no-tell. If you don't have enough money for a second home, you're not going to be here. Apparently,
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Sauer.
Andrea C. Strand, longtime resident of Grover Beach since 1998. I don't know where the time has gone, but I love this town, and I chose it purposely because, as I may have mentioned in the past, it's a beautiful beach town in a small community. I just want to summarize some of the comments that were made. I'm strongly requesting that you, the City Council, place on the February 9th agenda an important discussion of lowering the current height limit from the 40 feet to the 33 feet for the proposed building project at 359 Front Street. I'm also strongly proposing that the spacing between the buildings increase from 25 feet to 30 feet. Need I say, I have great traffic concerns. Wow. I live on 5th Street on the north end, and I cannot begin to tell you about the traffic there. But when you come down to Grand Avenue and 4th, it's unbelievable. And as far as parking is concerned, well, I don't understand where people are all going to park. I know there's a restaurant going in at one of the buildings on 4th and Grand. I don't know where those people are going to park to visit the restaurant. So I think that has to be greatly discussed, not only for the residents and businesses in this area, but for all of us throughout the community. Everyone, and I want to say everyone I chat with and talk with, cannot believe the mess that we are in Grover Beach when they look at those buildings. And many of these people, are busy, where they're with their families and such, and they're working, and they don't come to the city council meetings and are reading your agendas, watching your video tonight. And I can tell you, though, that everybody I've spoke to is very, very concerned about the direction this community is on. And I will tell you, it's you, the city council. It stops with you. You're the elected officials. And it also stops with your city manager. He's appointed by you. And I know he wants to keep his job. I always say, follow the money, follow the job. And so It's with you. The mess we're in right now is you, and you can change that. And I hope that you listen to people and talk to people at the grocery store and such. You'll hear their concerns. In the meantime, God bless. It's not easy to be an elected official these days, but I hope that you will take what you're hearing today from your constituents to heart. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else wish to come up and speak during general public comment? Come on up.
I don't know if council's aware, but
And if you could really quick, just put the mic up to your mouth. Thank you.
I talk really quietly. On December 13th, I was pulled over by Grover Beach police officers for a issue with my license plate. I am not a contentious person, complied immediately. Some situations with my windows kind of complicated things, but was trying to comply. I verbally provided my driver's license number to the officer. I'm a member of the Safe at Home program, which is a program created by the state to protect victims of major crimes. It suppresses your address from being able to be seen by bad actors. I explained I had a paper copy of my interim license in the car. The officers refused to tell me where it is, or like me to be able to show them where it is, or me produce it myself. Despite verifying my license plate 2 days prior with a parking ticket, which had actually been reported stolen. So a little background: the license plate frame, I had a plate stolen before, so I wrote in paint pen my VIN and the record number for the plate. But that paper had been taken. Confirming my identity at that point. I was then handcuffed. One of your officers then asked if there's anything sharp in my pockets. I answered some clarifying questions just to, communicate. How sharp are we talking here? Then backup arrived, and while handcuffed, I was body slammed into the ground, my face impacting the pavement. Of course, I don't have hands to break my fall at that point. And then I was placed into a full body wrap. Was told I was resisting. Sorry, I'm having issues with this. Officers later at the hospital, because I was taken in to be cleared medically for resisting arrest, I was taken into county for this. Admitted fault while outside the room, stating that it's my bad, acknowledging the force resulted from the officer's miscommunication rather than my resistance. My vehicle was impounded, which unfortunately currently is my home, rendering me and my fiance, who has a serious mental illness, homeless. Our belongings remain inaccessible, and the city's attorney is meant to protect y'all, so of course they're going to fight it. However, their opposition claims that I never proved innocence, proved ownership.
Thank you for your comments.
Even though I heard the officer's own communication over the radio while in the cruiser.
Your time
and
is
saw it
now
on the
up.
display.
I do have to stop you. Thank you
Okay.
so much for your comments. Thank you. You can pass it over to Ms. Sims. Thank you. All right, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I believe we had in the red shirt.
Yeah, I can't follow that one, but Stephen Brame, 971 Front Street, since the 80s. I'm tagging on to the height issue. I appreciate you guys listening to us all. You don't have an easy job, but I strongly implore that you would add the changing of the height back to the 33 feet onto your, I guess it's the February 9th, whatever date, the next agenda, and consider the additional spacing for the particular project down here. And that's really all I got. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else wish to come up and speak during general public comment? Seeing nobody come forward, is there anybody on the line?
Hello?
Yes, we have John Wysong.
Oh. Hello, Mr. Wysong.
Hello? Yes. Is it my turn?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Wysong.
You know, last meeting, you ditched me. You didn't call me. So I need another 5 tonight. Anyway, I think that the mayor, the council, the people that manage this town should have gone out across the United States like I have. I've gone 90 times across because I was born and raised back there near Dayton, Ohio. I've flown 20 times, and I've drove 30 times. My son and I and my family and I, we've all gone. I have gone into meetings at night. I've gone into city meetings. I've gone county meetings. I've gone all kinds of meetings. I learned a lot about cities and counties and all that. It made me pretty well knowledgeable. I came here in 1956. There was 900 people here. Pismo had 500. Santa Maria had 5,000. Rio Grande had 2,500. But we all had a good town. We all had good living quarters and houses. And my house was built by a special guy next to Abe Miner. I couldn't have a better neighbor than him and his wife. And now then, I came down 16th Street, and I looked over and I saw a White House trimmed in yellow. I went over. My wife was my girlfriend then, and she wouldn't get out. And I said, "You got to get out and see this. This is awesome." We've lived in it for 68 or 9 years. I've had my sons. I've had my grandkids. We've had a lot of people in there. I got a big lot. I can build in the back. I can build on top if the city lets me. But I'm going to have to build on top if I'm going to have any view at all now. And so I think we had the cart in front of the horse, you know, and that's the way Grover Beach is. They don't have it. But anyway, I had a brother-in-law that had a grocery and a beer joint down here on Grand
Thank
Avenue.
you for your comments,
between
Mr.
4th and
Wysong.
5th. Yes.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anybody else on the line? Okay. With nobody else being on the line, I will now close public comment, and we will move on to the consent agenda. The following routine items listed on the consent portion of the agenda are scheduled for consideration as a group. This is the minutes of the City Council meeting on Monday, December 8th, 2025. The resolution to approve appointments to the Citizens Oversight Committee for Transaction and Use Tax Revenues and Revenue Measure K14. Authorization to amend the Memorandum of Understanding with the Grover Beach Police Officers Association to clarify eligible holidays, and the City Purpose and Principles update. So I will now open for public comments on the consent agenda, and I do have one speaker slip. Brenda Auer.
Good evening again. I want to remind everybody in the room and everybody here, there is an oversight meeting, I understand, tomorrow. I think that's at 6, if I'm not correct. It'll be right here. Somebody correct me. I guess it won't be viewed, so you have to watch it on Channel 22, or maybe somebody will record it. But I want to talk about the last item on this consent agenda, drive. Engagement. Let's make engagement a priority. Let's finish this. Let's put E in front. Figure out how we can communicate with the community. Because so many people here said, I just learned what's going on in my town. People don't know. And that's why things are happening And people are upset because it's not transparent. People aren't educated. Things were done during COVID sneakily. Things were recently done sneakily, in my opinion. Please, all of you review the vision for the community. Let's have some real workshops. Apparently in that book on page 7, talks about how they had 3 workshops, an average of 50 people. I've been going to workshops for the last 2 years. The most we've had is maybe a dozen. And the last workshop that we had, there was 5. And I believe only 3 people were Grover Beach residents. That's not transparency. That's not communication. We need all of you to knock on doors. Talk to people in your district and ask them how they feel. I don't understand why we're doing this, and this is on the consent agenda, why we're all of a sudden changing. Is it a priority thing? Somebody explain it to me, because you guys are accepting it on the agenda, and I don't understand it. I think I just covered it all. But when I say please listen to the community engagement, let's put that height issue on the next agenda. Let's have a discussion. And what are we waiting for? Something else to get approved so it's too late? I mean, we shouldn't be afraid of what the builders are going to say. Because 30 years from now, it's going to affect us all. I don't know. You guys have children, maybe your grandchildren. It's going to affect my grandchildren. And I don't want them in the shadows. I have an ocean view. I love it. Somebody cut down trees in front of me. I went to a birthday party on Sunday.
Just make sure it's back on the consent agenda.
Yeah, 100-year-old birthday party, centennial. We should be celebrating the man. He lives his philosophy as do unto others. Do to your neighbor what you'd like to have done to you. And that way, when you lay your head down at night to go to sleep, you have a clear conscience. Thank you. I have hope for all of us.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Sauer. Anybody else wish to speak on the consent agenda? Seeing nobody come forward, is there anybody on the line? I will now close public comment on the consent agenda. Really quick to answer questions. The Oversight Committee, can you just let us know when that meeting, I know you were going to probably do this in your update later on, but if you may do it right now, when is the Oversight Committee meeting and what time and how can people watch it?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening to Mayor and Council members. The 2 Oversight Committee meetings are actually tomorrow. The first one is the Transaction Use Tax Committee that meets at 3 o'clock tomorrow here in the Council chamber. And then that'll be followed by the Measure K14 Oversight Committee at 4 o'clock or at the end of the meeting for the Transaction and Use Tax. So again, 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock here in the Council chamber. The meetings will be recorded, but not shown live on Slow Span, but shown on Channel 20 afterwards, but they'll be recorded for posterity.
Okay, thank you so much. I don't want to pull an item per se, but I do want to recognize some people in the audience. Jeff Lee and Lauren Westfall are here, and they will be on our Citizens Oversight Committee for the Transaction and Use Tax Revenues and Revenue Measure K14. We just did that this last meeting, so thank you for being here in person. So I appreciate that. Any questions, comments? Does anybody want to pull an item? If not, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
A motion to approve.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember McCrory Driscoll?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Robert?
Yes.
Councilmember Tuttle?
Yes.
Councilmember Wyrick?
Yes.
Mayor D?
Yes. All right, thank you. That passes. We do not have any public hearings tonight, so we will move on to our regular business really quick. Okay, so hold on one second. So regular business, we're going to start with item 8, which is the request from County of San Luis Obispo for support of legislation supporting extended operations of Diablo Canyon Power Plant and the restoration of unitary tax treatment. Councilmember Wyrick.
Yep. Good evening, colleagues and residents. So we approach this item now. I have chosen to recuse myself from consideration of this item based on a potential conflict of interest. While I have no financial, While I have no financial conflict of interest regarding this item, to avoid the appearance of impropriety related to my employment with my previous and continued direct involvement in matters on this item through that employment, I've decided to recuse myself. And so, given this, I'll be stepping down from the dais. From this hearing on this item and voluntarily leave the room as legally permitted by the statutes governing conflicts of interest. So I'll do that right now.
Thank you so much. We will take a couple seconds for him to walk outside the room. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, we are going to call on Assistant City Manager Erickson to provide the PowerPoint presentation for this item.
We don't have a PowerPoint this evening, Madam Mayor, but I do want to just give a little background. On December 16th of 2025, the County Board of Supervisors approved a draft letter requesting specific legislation to authorize an additional 20 years of operation for the Diablo Canyon Power Plant and also to restore the unitary tax, or in the alternative to provide alternative financial mitigation to the region in place of that tax, and also to support the Coastal Commission's land conservation and public access plan. That draft letter is what you will be considering this evening, and whether the city would like to participate as a supporter of that request. The county is represented here today by Supervisor Don Ortiz-Leg and also Assistant County Executive Officer Kate Ballantyne, and I would invite them to come and speak to this item.
Thank you very much. Come on up.
It's good time now. Good
Yes,
evening.
yes.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Is my microphone on?
Yes, you're good.
Thank you.
We can have it turn up. Yeah.
No,
thank
it's
you.
all right. I'm used to pushing a button. At any rate, Happy New Year, and thank you for taking the time and putting this on your agenda. Yes, Ms. Ballantyne is with me. This comes out of our executive office, but it did come from a 5-0 vote at the Board of Supervisors, and I'll tell you the reason why. First off, we feel very strongly about this major driver in our community, both as an energy generator as well as our economic driver for us. And as the only community in California that has a nuclear power plant, we thought it was really important to be able to speak up and do it not just from the board, but from the entire community. Many people, the 1,500 jobs plus, and all the subcontractors, they're all our constituents. They're the ones working to keep this plant safe every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We really feel it's important not only to support that workforce, but also to be able to show the legislature that we as a county, with all of our partners, do support further operations. And one of the important reasons for that is that we are seeing that the energy demands are increasing, that it is likely that the plant will have to stay open for grid stability as well as the energy generation that's carbon free, but that it takes a long time, and turning something around like what happened with the 5-year extension that we're in right now is that it's very expensive. It's very expensive to find materials. It's very expensive to find workforce. And so to have that longer runway, to be able to plan, was one of the reasons why we wanted to do it. The second thing is that there has been a lot of talk about the unitary tax. And while we all received 1090 funds when the plant was going to be decommissioned, now that the 5 years is happening onwards to the 20, we think it's a really great opportunity. And so does Senator Laird feel that this is a good time to be asking about what is it that the county wants? What is it that your partners want? If we're going to do some legislation, it has to happen fairly quickly. Thus why we've put this letter in front of you. And then lastly, in December, the Coastal Commission with the plant operator PG&E did come to some decisions in regards to the open space surrounding the plant. When the plant first was designed, it was thought that it was great to have, 1,200 acres surrounding it. As it turns out, those 1,200 acres aren't necessarily needed for security, and the areas that are needed for security are not part of what would be then handed over. How that all works in the end, we don't know. All we know is that people are interested in public access. The operator is interested in providing that public access. Parks is interested. There's a whole lot of conversation about that, but we just wanted to say that we were supportive of the opportunities that they've worked together very much to create a deal, so to speak, at this time. So with that, unless you have questions, I think that kind of gives you our rationale, and we just really appreciate you taking the time to consider supporting this.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Did Ms. Ballantyne want to come up as well and speak, or?
No.
Okay.
I think she's.
That was it?
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's going to be
Okay.
one of us.
Okay, sounds good.
She was like, if you can do it, it'd be great.
Okay.
So,
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Okay. Thank you. Do we have questions from our council at this time? Questions? No questions? No questions? Okay. I will now open public comments on this item. I do not have any speaker slips. Go ahead. Oh, I did have a speaker slip. I'm so sorry, but go ahead. Mr. Daniels, I do apologize. It was in my shuffle.
This is a complete surprise to me. I didn't have any ideas this was going on, but in '83 I I built Diablo Canyon and just retired from there a few years ago, like actually on the 31st of December. So 100% confidence in what was just said. It's safe, it's reliable, it's just California's only choice. The tax revenue, I mean, I'm a good example, 40 years of revenue right here in Grover Beach, and I'm a pretty decent citizen. So, I mean, I strongly encourage you to do it. I think you'll get the money will more than equalize with the tax breaks and tax benefits. And I know they're going to, I read an email on that, and they're going to, the proposal is to release the lands around the lighthouse and all that. So it's going to be a lot of public access associated with it. So it's a good deal. Do it.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Daniels, I do apologize.
No problem at all. Happy New Year. Eric Daniels, Madam Mayor and Council. Eric Daniels with PG&E. Just want to thank both the county and the city for being engaged on this question surrounding Diablo. The men and women who work at Diablo appreciate knowing that we have partners like you. Regarding the protection of the coastal lands, I'm happy to report, as was mentioned, that there was a satisfactory resolution with the action of the Coastal Commission recently. Their decision supports continued operation of the plant in alignment with the state's clean energy goals while providing a plan for permanent protection of some of the lands going forward. On the matter of the other items that were mentioned in the letter, please know that PG&E is committed to working with leaders in Sacramento, both at the legislature and in the governor's office, if and when those issues are brought forward by them for us to consider. In the meantime, we know that your advocacy on these matters will certainly be very important on gaining that attention. So I want to thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Daniels. Anybody else wish to come up and speak on this item? Seeing nobody come forward, is there anybody on the line? I will now close public comment and bring it back to the council for discussion. I just want to start by saying I'm a lifelong resident of Grover Beach. I've had Diablo Canyon Power Plant in my peripherals my entire life, with PG&E running it safely, and always adapting to safety protocols and keeping the community educated. So I will be supporting this letter. For California, it provides 9% of our state's energy. For Grover Beach, it provides jobs and economic stability. So in general, I'm just supportive of reinitiating the unitary tax, and also I'm excited to hear about the environmental conservation plan as well. So that I do appreciate that. So I will open up more comments to my right.
First of all, thank you to all the speakers. And we can recognize that there is some risk, but there's risk in every energy source that we currently have. And right now, Diablo is providing a large amount of carbon neutral energy for our communities. Is some pie in the sky day that we could actually do some kind of energy that was super magical? I'm here for it. In the interim, we need to keep the lights on. And I'm especially appreciative of including the unitary tax conversation in this letter, because they do need to go hand in hand. So thank you for including that.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you for all coming and speaking on this matter. I am in 100% agreement that it should carry on operating safely, and I look forward to many more years of clean power.
Okay.
Thank you.
To my left.
Again, thank you for speaking to us tonight about this. A couple of things really stand out to me, and that is the longer runway that you mentioned for workforce. I know it is difficult for PG&E to have to renegotiate 5 years at a time contractually with us and for employees. So the 20 years makes sense to me. The land conservation that we have is amazing. I know we have partners at Cal Poly that participate on those lands, and so much more goes on than just the nuclear power plant. I appreciate that. I also just want to give a shout out to PG&E and their community partnership and the way that they open themselves for tours. I've been on a tour of Diablo Canyon power plant. I find it fascinating, and I thank the county for coming to all the cities and asking for our participation, and I support it wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Okay. Well, then with that, we do need a motion. Do we need a roll call or a, no? It's just okay, so we are providing direction that we are, it sounds like consensus that we would like to be a supporter on this letter to authorize operations of Diablo Canyon Power Plant. So there we go. Thank you very much for all of you for your time coming out here, and yeah, appreciate it. Was that it? Okay. Before we bring Councilmember Wyrick in, may we take a little break, maybe 10-minute break or so? Yeah, be back at 7:30. Okay, thank you so much. Ready? Ready? Welcome back. All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for your patience as we take that little break. Okay, we will now move on to item 9, the San Luis Obispo Council of Governments Draft Transportation Expenditure Plan. And I will call on City Manager Bronson for the PowerPoint.
Or just to kick off the presentation, let SLOCOG take it from there. So thank you, Mayor and council members. Good evening once again. The item before you is the San Luis Obispo Council Government's Draft Transportation Expenditure Plan. This is a presentation from SLOCOG to your council. They are conducting similar presentations around the county on this topic to get your input and comments on the draft plan before you, and then they'll take that information back to the SLOCOG Board of Directors meeting in February. I will just mention SLOCOG is our regional planning and transportation agency. They represent all 7 cities within our county, as well as the county of San Luis Obispo. Mayor D is the council's representative on the SLOCOG board. We have a long history, a partnership with SLOCOG, most recently with the West Grand Avenue Streetscape project, where SLOCOG granted us $3 million, or roughly half the cost of the project to complete the work. SLOCOG also gave us some funding many years ago to help with the train station renovation and expansion project. So there's a long history of regional collaboration between SLOCOG and our city and across the county. And I'm delighted to introduce Kendall Flynn, who is with DKS Associates. She's the lead consultant for the draft plan. I also want to recognize James Worthley, the Deputy Director of SLOCOG, who is here as well. So, Ms. Flynn.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me tonight, Madam Mayor and members of the council. Again, my name is Kendall Flint, and my role is really to work with the SLOCOG staff as well as all of our member agencies to develop an expenditure plan that could successfully make its way to the ballot in November. You may recall, some of you, in 2016, we had another plan that came out, and that particular measure, which I also worked on, lost by about 400 votes. So one of the things that I want you to keep in mind tonight as we roll through this is the care that was taken to make some very specific changes in the way that the measure was constructed to be more adaptable for each member agency. So you have a lot more flexibility than perhaps we had in the past. Oh, there we go. Let me go backwards. Sorry, I went too fast. Now, as City Manager mentioned, SLOCOG is basically the local agency that basically coordinates all transportation investments with all the local cities as well as the county. You may recall that we all worked together to develop the regional transportation plan. We also worked together to develop long-term planning documents as well as major regional projects throughout the area. The SLOCOG board is made up of 1 representative from each of the cities and members from the Board of Supervisors, so there are 12 of them altogether. Now, currently, there are a number of projects that have been identified as needs here in the county. We do have funding for an additional 4 miles for southbound US 101. But aside from that, all these other things that you see have all been identified as needs, but there is no funding. So as an example, for those of you that come in from San Luis or from the North County, and you know the joy about sunset when you turn to come into town and you see the beautiful lights and the things that are slowing down. That's kind of a challenge for folks here, as well as some of the on ramps and off ramps. Similarly, up in North County, we have a challenge with 46 and 101, but we also have challenges with 227, with 41, Highway 1, the list goes on. So one thing that's very important to think about is sort of where are the monies coming from. Now, when you look here, you're looking at the state funds that are coming down, and these numbers are not that big. And if you can see, they're going down each year. We're getting less money from the state. That's the state transportation funding. We're also seeing less money, obviously, from SB1. That's the gas tax money. Now, the gas tax was adjusted in 2016, you may recall, and it has been going up. However, the revenue is going down, and that's for a couple reasons. One, the proliferation of electric vehicles, but also the fact that people are driving less because of the cost of owning a vehicle, because of ride share, other things that go in there. Now, a transportation tax was passed in 2016 by Santa Cruz, Monterey, and Santa Barbara. In that time, each year, they're seeing an additional $24 million a year for local and regional projects. Unfortunately, in SLO County, we have not seen any additional revenues coming in, and that has made it challenging for folks to basically navigate how to pay for future infrastructure. Now, in that time frame, I want you to look here at the grants won as well as the collected revenue. Now, in the 26 campaign, or 26 ballot season, Santa Cruz County, since 2016, has collected $196 million in sales tax revenue and successfully leveraged that by using that money to apply for state and federal grants to get another $350 million. Likewise, Monterey, a little bit smaller, obviously, in population, but 277 and 277. Santa Barbara has gone, really big on theirs. And again, we have not been able to access any of those leveraged funds because we had no funds to access. And that's true for that time period. We lost out on basically $430 million when you add it all together, well over $500 million that could have been here in the county that was not because of that time. Now, over the last several years, going back all the way to 2016, staff at SLOCOG as well as our team has been making a number of presentations throughout the county and talking to people about what they really wanted to see. Focus groups, online surveys, all these different types of things. And what we really learned from that was that people are really interested in flexibility of funds, and also they're very concerned about what happens in their own communities. In other words, we're all a little bit selfish when it comes to these types of taxes, right? We really want what's in it for me. And you want to make sure that there's a guarantee that that is going to happen and come back. One of the things that we know is also very important is making sure that there was flexibility so that the local agencies could utilize the funds to their highest and best use for their individual communities. In the last go-round, we had some very specific categories that required a specific number of dollars for things like bike trails or pedestrian or transit. And what we found is that not all communities had the same needs. And some of them were like, we don't need all these bike trails. We're perfectly happy with what we have. And others said, oh no, we would like to have more. So flexibility became key. So one of the things we know is that at a half-cent sales tax, we're talking about potentially about $35 million a year. And currently what I'm going to talk with you about tonight is what we're looking at as the sort of the base plan. And we really want to hear any feedback that you have on that for making adjustments, et cetera. But for looking at this, 55% of the money would be going towards local streets and roads and local projects within the agencies, the local jurisdictions. So here in Grover Beach, as an example, you would be getting somewhere between around $875 to $1 million a year based on the current projections. It's based on the population of the area. And that's something we talked with all the city managers. We looked at road miles, we looked at sales tax revenue, and at the end of the day, the thing that became most fair for what folks thought was going to be good for their communities was sticking with the sales tax, and your city manager was a part of those discussions. Now, each governing board sets their own priorities, so you as a council would decide what to do with your money. And SLOCOG has no oversight on that whatsoever, with the exception that it does fit within the transportation expenditure plan itself. It requires public input, which means that, like all things, you have to have an opportunity for the public to weigh in and say, hey, we'd like to see this project over that project, so that there is an open and transparent discussion that's taking place. Now, the next largest chunk of this money would be going 40%, and that's for regional projects. These are projects that affect multiple communities, right? So in this case, we're talking about, large roads, large freeways, interchanges, things like that. In the previous numbers, that could be anything from safe routes to schools, to bike paths, to pedestrian paths, to a crosswalk, to a downtown beautification project, whatever it is, as long as it goes to transportation. In this case, 40% would then go to all these four regions, which would be South County, which you would fall into, and Central County, North Coast, and North County. And then those funds would be used for projects that were developed within those agencies. So potentially here at 5 cities, you might all band together and say, hey, we'd like to see something like this on 101. It goes back through the SLOCOG board, again, transparent process, and those things would be funded. That's about $14 million a year. Now, while that sounds like a huge amount of money for most people, it's not, because when we're talking about interchanges or freeways, it can be quite expensive, but it is enough money to get projects what we call shovel ready, which means you can get all the environmental done, the planning done, right of way, all that kind of good stuff, so that then you're able to take monies and apply for those state and federal grants in order to get those things built at the larger numbers. And again, any of these regional projects would have to be part of the existing regional transportation plan, which you all work on. So it's not like you just, see a shiny object and go, ooh, pretty picture, let's build one of those. It needs to be within the plan, so it's already been passed environmental review. So I mentioned, this is just a look on the half-cent sales tax for the unincorporated and incorporated areas. So in this case, Grover Beach would see about $865,000 a year. Now, put that in perspective, I was reading online, your current Measure K has a shortfall of anywhere between $2 and $4 million. This would go a long way to help fill that gap. And I think what we hear from folks a lot of times is, okay, I've already got a sales tax here, we've got this bond, and now you're asking for another. The reality is that even with all of those things, with SB1 funding going down, you're still going to be looking at some sort of a shortfall. So you're still going to have to make decisions about what gets done and what doesn't get done. But anyway, that's how it works. Now, in the regional corridor improvements, South County would see about $4 million a year by this math. And then we have 4% that's for seniors, disabled, veterans, mobility improvements. Transit is a really important thing here in the county, but it varies from where you live to how important it is to you. And so some areas really want transit, a lot of transit, Slow City being one of them, and others like Paso, not so much. So what we did is we built into the plan that a local agency can decide to increase frequency or whatever they'd like to do with a transit route or invest in regional transit or not. So if Slow City decided with part of their funds that they wanted to do something, they could. If you as a city decided that you wanted a trolley system to run, up and down the town, that you could do that too. But again, gives you that flexibility. But what we learned from voters and from the focus groups that we did and a ton of polling, seniors, disabled, veterans, people who have challenges or mobility challenges, these are the folks that are most vulnerable. And so there's a 4% set aside, which would turn out to be approximately $1.4 million a year. That can be used to either subsidize or support those types of services, which may not even exist today. So it might be things like dial-a-ride services, it might be point-to-point, it might be providing reimbursement for family, friends, coworkers that take seniors around. It could be any of those things that are specific to those target populations. And again, the idea here is not to take people who can use the bus off the bus, but those who cannot or have mobility challenges to take care of that. And then the final 1% goes to administration costs. And this is actually a really important piece. It's not so SLOCOG can hire more people. It's really to make sure that there's an effective mechanism in place to do all of the oversight, reporting, annual reports, all that kind of good stuff. So what that would go for, first of all, how would the money be spent? How was the money spent? So each agency would be required to show that they have spent the money as it was allocated in the areas that it was supposed to be done. So you couldn't use it for parks or for police or anything else, right? Pretty straightforward. It has to augment existing transportation funds. Now for this city, I want to be really clear about this. When we figure out what's called maintenance of effort, that's a 3-year average of what you spend on your local maintenance, road maintenance from your general fund. Your sales tax revenue and your bond revenue are not included in that mix. Those are special revenues. It's just general fund. So when you get this money coming in, the state law requires that it actually supplements what you've already got going on. So it's building on it, right, not replacing. Also, there's oversight guarantees. We have independent audits that have to be done by an independent. We completely trust all of your folks and your staff, but we want the receipts. And we want somebody who's not any of us to look at the receipts and go, yes, that's what they did. And we want the public to see that. So they have a really good feeling about where the money went. There are currently 25 self-help counties in California. This has been a very good process for them. Annual reports are put out every year so people can see what all the jurisdictions did, where the regions spent their money, and again, where everything went. Now, what does it actually look like? The tax is on things that you buy every day. It's a transaction use tax. So it doesn't apply to things like medical or groceries or a home, right? But it does apply to things like clothing or a car, a cell phone, shoes, that sort of stuff that you pay every day. And for the average person, it's probably about $2, $2.31 a week. So it's not too bad. Now, one thing to also keep in mind that there's a number of reports out there that take a look at what the cost of poor roads are. So if you're driving on poor roads, and they're much better here at Grover Beach than they were 10 years ago. My brother lived down here with his chickens, and it was always just a real thrill to see, and I apologize in advance for his chickens. They were very loud. You know, if you get a chick in your window or you get a flat tire, all these things add up, right? So there is a math problem that goes along with that. And on average, it's about $400 a year if you do own a car. Other things to consider are basically what will the money do long term and how long would it go on? We're talking right now about a 30-year measure. And at this point, one of the other things I just want to share with you tonight, it doesn't really apply to you, but one thing we heard from some of the smaller communities, in fact, James was actually at Avila Beach. Well, not at, he was, you know, zooming in, but a lot of our smaller unincorporated communities wanted to make sure that they had representation too. So when the county gets its cut, we're talking about dividing that up into pieces so that either supervisorial districts or similar to the regional plan, there'll be a way for folks they can track it, which I think is really important because again, people want to know what's in it for them. So last December, the board approved this draft that you have before you tonight. We've since made some very minor tweaks to it, but that's why we're here tonight, is for each of the agencies to tell us, you know, what you like, what you don't like, so we can make those adjustments. And then we'll be taking this back to the SLOCOG board on February 4th. At that point, the SLOCOG board will take an action to either ask to move this forward in the process or not. If they choose to move it forward, which we anticipate they will, then we're all going to come back to see you again in March, February and March, and you'll have an opportunity to weigh in on the specifics of the ordinance and that plan. At that point, it's a thumbs up or a thumbs down. If we do have that, then in the April board meeting, the board will make its decision whether or not to request that the Board of Supervisors puts the measure on the November ballot for November 2026. Election day happens. If it passes at this point, it's a 2/3 majority. As I mentioned before, in 2016, we were off by 400 votes. That was fun. And if it doesn't, then you know we're back to square one. But the idea here is that if it does pass, then the funds would start being collected in 2027, and again would continue out until 2057. So that's really the whole process in a nutshell. And of course, I'm available to answer any questions you might have about the process, how it's made up. But I think the fundamental differences, which those of you who've been around for a while, you can see, it's really shifting the discretionary funding within the category to the local jurisdiction, which is we heard loud and clear is that's what people wanted to see. So thank you for your time. And again, any questions?
Perfect. Thank you so much for the presentation. I want to just start by, again, we're not deciding anything tonight. We're just giving direction
Correct.
and opportunity for education to our community and providing questions and comments and things, and then it'll move forward. But I will start with questions to my right.
Thanks for the presentation. It's the second time I've gotten to hear it. It's actually helpful to hear it twice. But I have a couple of questions. First off, do we have any numbers on the percentage of our sales tax that is actually paid from non-locals? Like how
That's
much
a
is
great
tourism
question.
going to subsidize this?
Great question. So according to Dean Runyon Associates, which is basically the state of California's look-see on that, the number we believe is close to about 25%. And it varies by location, you know, depending where you are, but countywide, because of not only the wine industry, but the beaches and all the things that are out here, we're thinking that's about the right number. And, you know, one thing to consider too, which is why it's different than, let's say, a property tax or a bond, right? It's not just the visitors that are coming in and staying in the hotels, it's your family and your friends and other people that are coming in. And so that does have a cumulative effect. And they are on our roads, so that obviously makes a difference as well. But yeah, it's about 25%.
Okay, great. And then as we apply for grants, if this went forward, I recognize how we would be able to leverage them. The grants would not be beholden to the same funding formula that the sales tax is, correct? Because it would be specific
Right.
on what's shovel ready and.
Well, and it really depends on the type of grant. You know, just to put it in perspective, we've seen one where $12,000 was used to get $2.5 million for a roadway project. It just really depends on the grant and what the parameters are and what's there. There's a certain set aside each year in the state of California's budget for self-help counties, and that funding is only available to self-help counties. So you're only competing with other folks on that. But certainly the larger grants from a federal level, the large infrastructure pieces, that's how Stanislaus County played for 132. We have seen some of those go in for 41, 46 on the other counties. Yes, those are all, and it depends. It can be as little as 5%. It can be as much as a 50-50 match. It just depends.
And so in theory, one area could end up with more money just because if they were successful in leveraging the grants.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then last, this is more of a crystal ball, but maybe it's not. How have the grant programs around transportation been impacted as things have shifted at the national level in regards to federal money?
Great question. Lawsuits continue.
You've told me great question 3 times.
I know, but you're just that good. Okay, so I mean that's why you're the council member. So the thing to think about with things like this, and it's not obviously it's not just with transportation. There's a lot of grant funding out there that is very challenging and pulse quickening depending on where you are right now. But you've got to think about this as a 20, 30 year, the long game, right? And in the long game, regardless of the administration, the federal government has continued to provide funding for infrastructure, highways, that sort of thing. It continues on. So I don't think you can say this is going to be a long-term situation for anything. Now, the Biden infrastructure bill, that was going to go bye-bye in 4 years anyway, right? So it's coming to the end. And so there would have to have been another thing that come out there. I think from what we hear from the legal folks that are there lobbying, to keep in mind, while California may not be a favorite of the current administration, there are plenty of other states that are also in dire need that are favorites that need this kind of funding. And at this point, we can't give to one and not give to the other. So our understanding right now is that we expect that they are going to right themselves over a period of time and it'll work itself out. But from the short term, long term, without these funds, you will not have any opportunity to leverage any funds. And at least in this case, you'll know you'll be able to leverage some or even have your own.
Yeah, and my sense is transportation's been a little bit less controversial as far as funding sources. So, yeah.
As long as it's not rail.
Yeah. No, yeah, let's not do that.
Yeah.
All right, not today. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Well, council member took all my questions.
Oh, no.
Well, you were also great because you were thinking of them.
But thank you for this very informative report and great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
To my left.
One question, talking about self-help counties, how many of them are left in California besides us?
That are not. Well, there's 56, 57, 56? 58 counties in California, and right now about half of them are self-help, but they represent 82% of the population in the state. Is it 89 already? 89%. Okay, 89%. I stand corrected.
Okay.
So what happens is in other counties, I'll use Lake County as an example, or Humboldt County. They're very small counties, and sometimes they have a real hard time putting together measures. Humboldt tried in 2016 and just decided to pass local sales taxes within each of their member agencies and rely on Caltrans.
And regionally, we are the only one that's not?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, I got a few questions all over the place, but as far as you mentioned how Humboldt, they went for theirs, they didn't get it, and then they started doing sales taxes within all jurisdictions. For clarity, those individual jurisdictions aren't eligible for the state budget set-asides for self-help counties, though. Is that correct?
Correct.
So,
and they don't benefit from the, again, here, if you look at SLO County, a lot of those, unincorporated areas like Avila, like Cambria, like San Simeon, these are places where people spend money, and there's a lot, generated from those. So you miss out on that entirely. The other thing is that without having a regional tax or a regional plan, you really do miss out on sort of that doubling and, the way that money just comes in much larger. You just have more to play with.
okay, so yeah, basically, if our city was like, oh, shouldn't we just raise more on our own local end too, it wouldn't have that benefit, which from you showed it with the numbers is actually basically gets more than usually the tax
Right, well, think
brings
about
in.
101, without that regional match, there's no way that you could afford to invest in any of that type of infrastructure to improve on-ramps and off-ramps in and out of the city of Grover Beach.
Okay, and also, this one's actually kind of related, but more to our city staff too, just for clarification on the relationship with Slow Cogs, partnership throughout the years too, is on our staffing level side of things, to do the things Slow Cog does, would actually have to up-staff ours. Well, with partnership with them, it brings in kind of their expertise and their staff to do different things that we benefit from too, right? I mean, isn't that how, when it comes to securing more funding, that relationships work too, versus just having it all on us to try to figure out how to fund everything?
That's correct, council member. When we have receive funding from SLOCOG, it's been to augment city funding, augment city staff, and then the expertise that SLOCOG staff provides helps enable us to do projects faster and better. So I mentioned West Grand Avenue, I mentioned the train station. There are other projects that we would love to see competing for the regional corridor improvements if this measure goes forward, in addition to the local grant money that would come to our city and be up to the council and how you allocate those funds for our community needs.
Okay. And one thing too, it just only stuck with me during your presentation, as far as the 30-year sunset, is that set because it's kind of assumed that in 30 years, with this kind of funding and other matching funds and other local funds and all the pieces put together too, that a lot of the different needs throughout the entire county will be met to a certain threshold where local funds, and kind of normal funding mechanisms could maintain that? Or is that just kind of an area that, people like to see, I guess?
So I think I want to be really clear about this, is that even if this measure passes, right, there isn't enough money to implement everything that's in your regional transportation plan, right? So what cities do, or what agencies do, COGS, 10 years is not enough time. It's like you've just beaten yourself up to do it. It's just not enough time to accumulate anything. The difference between 20 and 30 from a voter perspective is not that big. Forever taxes is a whole different thing. That dies horribly in a place like this. But at 30 years, that gives you enough time to really, make an impact. The other thing that's built into this plan, if you have a chance to read the fine print, it's not that fine actually, it's regular type. But we have a 10-year review. So every 10 years, we come back and open it up again and say, okay, do we have flying cars now? What do we need to adjust? The percentages don't change, but the things that you might be able to use it for change because our needs change. And a real good example, 10, 15 years ago, we really weren't seeing things like resiliency studies or evacuation studies, and we're seeing those now, and those are the kinds of things that you could fund through this. So it's really an attempt to get enough momentum so that hopefully you have enough going on that then it's easier to renew again if you need it in 30 years. But once it goes away, you'd have to have another funding source in order to continue to maintain what you have.
Thank you. And for things like that, as far as like if it, if it went to the ballot, the voters passed it, and then it gets to the point of 10-year reviews, since SLOCOG has its Citizens Transportation Advisory Committee, which Paul Holden, who we appointed as the City Council back in 2023, as our city representatives on, do they have a role within those kind of aspects of this, or I'm not sure how?
Great question. It's a separate committee. So basically what will happen is on the passage, there's going to be a Citizens Oversight Committee that's one representative from each of the cities and one from each supervisorial district, not in a city. So you couldn't double dip. And those folks, their role is really to review all of the funds that have gone out and the funds that have come back and what the accounting has been to make sure that it is correct. And then they're responsible for working with staff to generate that annual report. Now, it's up to you. You could have the same person be on more than one committee. We anticipate the Citizens Oversight Group will probably meet, twice a year, something like that. It's not like they have to meet every single month for that kind of thing. And their role is not to select projects or to approve projects, nothing like that. It's strictly oversight on the money.
Great. And when it comes to the regional dynamics, as far as you mentioned the South County part, how does that come into play when it comes to these tricky areas that are almost the things that border jurisdictions? Like, for instance, one thing that a lot of residents have had a problem with for a long time is we have our South Oak Park Boulevard, which then connects to Rio Grande and Oceano, and then as far as the South 4th Street part, which is closed, that connects from River Beach to Oceano. These ones that if one jurisdiction does their part, another one doesn't do their part at the same time, then it becomes this incomplete project too. And how does this work into that dynamic?
It can work in a couple of different ways. One, potentially, depending on the project could be selected as a regional project if it's going to impact multiple agencies, right? So that would take some of the regional funds to be applied in that one. It can also be an MOU that's established between the city of Grover Beach, AG, and the county for the part. There's different ways of doing it, and the measure is written in such a way that you have the flexibility to do whatever is going to actually work. I think with that particular example, you'd find that all three agencies see the need if you've ever driven it. But there's different ways of putting that together, so it wouldn't all have to be you. And again, the idea is you could even combine regional funds with some of the local, if that's what you wanted to do, to make that work.
Great. And One thing just to clarify, since it comes up in different ways too, as far as the allowable uses for, because residents all the time bring up to us, sometimes at these meetings, sometimes privately, as far as, oh, could you do more of those blinking areas for crosswalks or streetlights or those kind of niche things that we don't always think of, but when it becomes an issue, it's definitely there. I mean, how does this work?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's covered. What's not covered is paid crossing guard, right? So if you do the little light things, those are great, but an individual that's hired, that's not covered. It's got to be, an investment, a tangible asset or a tangible thing that goes there.
Perfect. And my last question is, this council's used to be bringing up safe routes to school all the time too, but since it's something that you mentioned, is it anticipated that because like we have 3 elementary schools, the cross-jurisdictional issues with schools and safety is always a big deal, that SLOCOG, if, like I said, if this went to the ballot, if the voters passed it, that there might be more investment within those kind of areas too, just because it affects so many cross-jurisdictional transportation issues.
And in fact, you've seen that in Sonoma County as an example, STA, Sonoma Transit Authority, they are doing exactly that, partnering with the local school districts, public and private, by the way. A private school can also have safe routes to schools. It doesn't have to be a public school. It also doesn't have to be a grade school, middle school, high school. It could be a community college. It could be any type of work site. So that's all flexible and absolutely. And the thing that's really nice is that within the context of the grants at the state level, the SS4A grants right now, they're huge and they're still coming out. And they just released another $4 billion. So that's a place you could actually, apply for and see some things even for smaller jurisdictions.
Cool. Thank you for answering all those questions. That's all I have for right now.
All right, and as I just have a couple of questions. So let's say everything moves forward, the measure passes, or it's put on the ballot, the measure passes. What does the process look like as far as, and this might be for our staff as well, as far as choosing projects, what does the outreach look like? And are there studies? Do we choose it? Does SLOCOG say this is the list of things, or this is what's approved?
So in the regional pot, okay, let's set that aside for a second. But in the local pot, that's all you. So you decide exactly how you want to spend those monies, and that's it. So as long as they fit within those categories of bike ped, road maintenance, safe routes, all those things, ADA, whatever it is, that's all you do. All we need is the receipt that shows that you spent the money the way you said you're going to spend it. When it comes to the regional projects, those are applied. So basically the SLOCOG board, which again has one of your representatives on it, would be receiving the applications or the requests for funding for regional projects for each of those sub-regions. You're in the South County region. So what we find in other jurisdictions where this happens, or other South counties, they'll usually take that regional transportation plan, and because you're already working on that collaboratively, and figure out, what are the key projects that you want to see done in the short term, in the midterm, in the near, how that works out. And so you'd work collaboratively with your other agencies, and then hopefully come to the board without too much of a impasse. I'm not going to say that there aren't going to be impasses, because there are. I mean, there's going to be a time where somebody wants one thing and somebody wants something else, and it just kind of goes that way. But that's one of the reasons we set it up in these regional pots, to ensure that each of the regions will have funding that is exclusive to them, so that they can make sure that they're getting their fair share as well.
Okay, thank you. As far as if it passes, when we receive the money, we receive it annually. Do we have to spend it in that year, or
No.
can we accrue it and bundle it all up together?
Yeah, and you don't receive it annually. You receive it as it comes in. It's usually a quarterly piece. So the state of California brings that money in. It's not SLOCOG, and then the money comes to you. The requirement is that your finance director would set up a line item, same way you have right now with K, and so it goes into that. Now, if you decide you're going to use funds for a regional project, one of the things, and this is you've applied for these funds, we ask that in the measure that there's a timeline on that you've got a reasonable expectation of finishing that work in 3 to 5 years, whatever it is. There's a clause in it that says you can extend for another 2 years if need be, for things like COVID or whatever that might come up. But the idea is we want the money to be used and not to be just sitting there, right? However, if it's encumbered, like you've got a larger project that it's going to take you can do that. You can pay it. That's how it goes. Now, with the monies coming in even for you, you could decide that you're not going to spend any of your measure money for 2 or 3 years. I mean, one thing that I hear a lot in Grover Beach is that while everybody loves all the new roads and they're all spiffy, it's like, could we just have a little bit of time without a construction truck in my neighborhood? So you might feel people saying, hey, this is great, but can we wait a little bit? And you could. It's your money. As long as you spend it in the 30-year period or encumber it during that time period.
Okay, that was my next question was, what if we don't use it in the year or whatever, within a certain timeline? Does it go away? Who can touch the money? Just us, right?
No, just you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, and then my other questions were actually answered. Any other questions that popped up? Any other questions? No? Okay, so thank you for the presentation. I am now going to open it up for public comment. I do not have any speaker slips. Does anybody wish to come up and speak on this item?
Yay, slow cog. Every time I've heard a slow cog presentation, it confuses the heck out of me. So I'm going to say, kids, sharpen your pencils. These are the questions we should be asking. This could be just like using grant money for a perfectly good park and then turning around and charging the community for the sewer. $35 million. Aren't we already taxed out? Isn't 0.5% going to tax us out? That's what I've been told. $35 million. We would get $865,000. Do the numbers, right? That's almost what we used to put into our roads before we dumped all our money in Central Coast Blue and started charging the people for roads. It was $750,000. I've told you all, I know how to save our city almost $1 million a year, and not one of you have asked me how. Instead, you want to tax me 0.5% for $865,000 over 30 years. Do that math. Divide that up. How much is that? Well, let's go back to that 35 mil. Slow cog is going to get 1%. They're going to get almost half as much as what we get. And then what is our administration going to cost? So how much are we really going to get? Just do the math, okay? It doesn't make sense. And there is no guarantee, I've heard that over and over again, that we will actually get that much if this is approved. The other meeting I went to on slow cog was just as confusing. I love the razzle dazzle. We're going to fix your streets, whatever that means. But we need to actually get our pencils sharp and look at the real numbers. If we don't, it's just the same old thing. Dump $10 million into Central Coast Blue and then put it on the people. Let's not do that anymore. I think I said everything that I needed to, because that was real important. You need to look at our administration costs. We already know our city has a hard time paying back loans, keeping track of them, and now you want them to monitor the receipts. It's almost a joke. I'm really serious. I'm concerned. If we keep going this way, we'll be facing bankruptcy again, which we almost have several times. Our city is smaller than Arroyo Grande. Our average income is smaller than Arroyo Grande. Yet our city manager makes more than the Arroyo Grande manager. There's lots of things we're doing that aren't really kosher here. So I'm just going to ask you, please, sharpen your pencils. Look at the real numbers, not the razzle-dazzle. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else wish to speak on this item? Seeing nobody. Oh, go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Paul Holden, and I live in Grover Beach, and I am the city's current chair and representative to SLOCOG Citizens Transportation Advisory Committee. And as it's, can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hardly hear myself, sorry. As it's been pointed out, that the city, if it passes, would get between $870,000 a year to $1 million a year to repair roads and to maintain them and even put in safety structures. Also, it's been pointed out, because of the high cost of fixing roads, we're looking at a shortfall on the K-14 projects of some $3 to $4 million. This money could be used to fill that gap and see that all those projects get taken care of in the future. I really hope the city council will support this. It's going to be an uphill battle to try to get a 2/3 majority. And yeah, let's work to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else wish to speak on this item? Go on.
It's more of a question, I suppose, but not expecting an answer, is California has the highest gas tax in the country. I can't quote exactly what it is, but it's the highest in the country. And I understand that gas tax is supposed to help pay for the roads. And so it's just a question is, where's that money going if it's not going to help repair the roads? Does Grover Beach get a portion of that gas tax? Or I'm not sure how it works. And that's all I've got to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? Seeing nobody come forward, is there anybody on the line? Okay, I will now close public comment on this item. And we did have a couple of questions. Let's go backwards. So starting with the gas tax, I believe there's many factors that go into this, including electric vehicles. But the question is, where is the money going? I don't think it's necessarily going anywhere. It's just...
Well, it's let me be blunt. The way that the gas tax was constructed, right? SB1, that's where what you pay at the gas. And he's absolutely correct, by the way. California does have the highest gas tax anywhere, and it has a lot to do with environmental things and other things that go along with it, and also the processing of gas. Our gas is just ridiculously expensive. It is. The problem is that once you pay at the pump, the revenues from that are broken down into several sections. Some of them go to like Caltrans and larger projects. Some of them go to regional things. Some of them go to the local municipalities. And you can see in your annual, when you guys look at your budgets, you do have a line item in your budget that shows what funds come from SB1 to this agency. The problem is that way the California state legislature set it up is that the larger, more populated areas get the vast percentage of the money. So from a percentage standpoint, Los Angeles County, Sacramento, the LA metro area, and San Diego get the vast amount of it, so that the coastal communities, the Great North, and the Central Valley get very little. So for every dollar that you spend in an actual tax, you're really getting pennies back. There's nothing that we can do about that at this point without a change at the legislature, but that's why it is that way. Now you add to that the diminishing SB1 revenues, and you're seeing that come down because of the electric vehicles, and then again because of people not driving as much as they used to. The other thing that's a real interesting, kind of a happy sad thing is that we all remember COVID. During COVID, so many people figured out that they could work from home, and so we're actually seeing quite a few people now working from home or only going to the office a couple of days a week. That's also affecting gas revenues. So the combination of all those things at the same time is overall what happens. But in terms of the gas tax, as agencies here, we really cannot rely on that as the primary source of funding for local streets and roads.
Okay, thank you so much. Another question, will the city of Grover Beach have any administrative costs along with this?
You shouldn't, because you're doing the same things that you're already doing. So basically, as part of your annual developing a budget, putting together an annual finance report, those are exactly the same things that we're going to be looking for. And so those are materials that you're already providing to your auditors on a regular basis as part of, operating as a city. In terms of things like, people get concerned about maintenance of effort, or you have to have a capital improvement program or a circulation element. These are all things you already have. So we're not trying to do anything that is onerous on staff. The other thing to consider too, and I believe the city manager mentioned it, that one of the things that you can use that money for, of course, is leveraging the relationship with SLOCOG to do things like help you write grants and whatnot that will help you identify opportunities to leverage your funds and get them a little bit further. And I think to the previous speaker, roughly $850 to $1 million a year, that's every year over 30 years. So the city would be getting approximately, what is that, 27 to $30 million over a 30-year period. But that's just the city. That doesn't include the regional money, which is $4 million a year over that same time period, which is about $120 million, and that's for projects that would, I did that math bad, sorry, $4 million a year. I didn't either. I didn't think it's like, okay. Math is not my strong point. I'm really more of an English. But yeah, that's funds that would help with 101 and some of these larger or intricate projects that you want to see happening in this area. So it's more than just the $1 million a year.
Okay, thank you. And the last question regarding the sales tax and being taxed out. We do have this cap, but I believe there was a Senate bill that was passed.
And it hasn't. So if the reason that that SLOCOG and the county move forward with it is there is a cap of what percentage that you can get to. We're not there yet, but if SLOCOG and the group pass a countywide tax, it would cap for some of our other agencies, some of our other cities that may be considering sales tax as additional sales taxes for things like police or fire or something else. So the legislature passed 333, which allows for it to go up to, was it 10.5? Is that where it went? It gave us 1% of leeway from the governor's office to be able to accommodate those requests should it happen, but it's only for a short period of time. So if this measure does not pass, it would go away basically. But if it does pass, it just was really set up so that other agencies would have a little more flexibility if they needed to do so.
Perfect. Okay, thank you so much. All right. Any other questions or comments from council? And then, go ahead.
And Mayor, just to add some context around how the money would be spent, ultimately, if this went forward and was approved, it would be revenue we would get in addition to other revenue for capital projects. It would not create a whole new program. It wouldn't create a whole new division, new staffing. It's just one other line item in our budget that we can tap into for transportation projects that ultimately would come through our CIP. We do a CIP every year. A second meeting in March is when we bring the draft CIP to your council. That would continue going forward. We just have additional money to use towards projects that the council would identify as most important using these funds. So I just wanted to clarify that this is not creating a whole new program, whole new staffing. It is creating additional funding capacity to carry out transportation projects based on your council priorities.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions for SLOCOG or any other? Okay, no, good.
And something I did want to clarify too, as far as the Measure K14 gap, is early last year, when we were going through our CIP, I remember we did, for one of the CIPs that was on Grand Avenue from 11th to Oak Park Boulevard, I believe, had like about 2.5 million allocated. We did reallocate that money to help fill the gap, but still 2.4 out of 4 million still is 1.6, and we all know that those numbers, go up over time too. So I did want to make clear that we have tried to make some proactive efforts to help address filling that gap, but it's still going to be a gap, and it's not, that kind of money too. If we already had it, we would have already done it, but obviously we don't. So I really am looking to try to see how we can fill that gap to do all that work. And then of course always the big question later on too is how to maintain it too, and how to keep those existing funding. So our residents want their streets fixed and they want it to be maintained. We have to look at different ways to do it too. And obviously for something like this, it's still in the preliminary stages, and ultimately if it does get to the ballot too, it's up to the voters. It's actually not up to us. So I think that's just a big part too, that, as far as where the burden and stuff ultimately goes to on the decision, that's who would make it. So I just always want to clarify that.
Good comments. Yes, absolutely. Anything else? Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much to everyone who is here for this item. I appreciate that, and I hope it gave enough comments, directions, and questions, and we will see you soon. So thank you very much. Okay. So we will now move on to council committee reports. I will start with Councilmember McCrory Driscoll.
December was quiet. I have nothing to report.
Okay. Councilmember Tuggle.
Ditto.
Councilmember Wyrick. I almost said Tuggle again.
Yeah, just two brief reports for the Community Action Partnership of San Luis Obispo County, aka CAPSLO. So the board of directors, we did meet on Thursday, December 18th for a regular meeting, fairly routine business items and standard approvals, and mainly hearing from all the different programs from the nonprofit for like Adult Day, Child Care Resource Center, Energy Program, Family and Community Support, Friends of 40 Prado Homeless Services, Health and Prevention, Head Start / Early Head Start, Migrant and Seasonal Head Start, and supportive services for veterans, families. We kind of got a bigger cap as far as the year to date work. It's been a privilege to actually be on that board during its 60th anniversary.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I cannot hear Councilmember Wyrick. Thank you.
and the first of the 3-year term that our city council rotates with our neighboring cities. So the staff and programs are doing a lot of great work, and their work is focused because of national action, community actions, status and law on low-income community members too. So it's always good to see that people's lives are being affected positively. So I look forward to serving this year as well on that. And then for the South San Luis Obispo County Sanitation District Board of Directors, aka SSLOCSD, for those who like acronyms. We did meet last Wednesday, January 7th. I was in there and stuff too as Mayor G's alternate. And basically, once again, conducted some routine business. The main item was as far as the extension of the contract with Rincon Consultants, which is a local firm based in this county, for continuing environmentals, coastal hazard monitoring that's required by the California Coastal Commission state agency for the district's coastal development permit, aka CDPs that people hear about, which has a special condition for this type of ongoing monitoring per the Coastal Hazards Monitoring Plan. So this monitoring of data collection sites and providing appropriate documentation and preparing what's necessary to be in compliance of this, that firm's been doing it for 6 years, since 2019, and essentially extended another year. And our district administrator, Jeremy Gent, I never say his last name right. He did note in his report to us that the district staff is continuing to work and communicate with our city government, City of Grover Beach staff regarding ongoing sewer improvements, since there's mainly due to, with the city's upgrades on the wastewater collection system, that that the connections with the district's trunk had areas too where those places kind of overlap and connect. So, but I think that work was supposed to be done or come online stuff around this weekend or a little bit later. So those are my 2 reports.
Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. Last Wednesday, January 7th, SLOCOG had a meeting. It was actually a 3-phase to the meeting while the mayor was out playing on trains.
Yeah, that's, oh my gosh.
Oh, gosh. Apparently Highway 1 had collapsed, so the train had to be routed to buses. So in any event, the 3-phase meeting was a joint meeting of the RTA, and then the SLOCOG meeting, and finally the RTA meeting. Let's see, appointments to various organizations such as CalCog, NARC, Lawson, and CRCC. And the key representatives include Fred Strong, currently representative of the CalCog, NARC, and Lawson. Erica Stewart, which is mayor of SLO, represents the CRCC with Alternative U, Cassidy.
The trains.
The train, yeah. President and vice president will be appointed for Pacific roles, and the next SLOCOG meeting is February 4th. Open floor for comments and concerns, ongoing public outreach for local roads, first program, upcoming improvements and safety measures on Highway 1, discussion on the regional transportation plan, and its reviews processed by CARB. More on that in a moment. In the joint meeting, the 25 Vice President Carla Wixom became the president, and the new vice president was selected from the county's bios. The past president, Jimmy Paulding, was assigned to the executive committee per the bylaws. Most of the suggested appointments do not change from 25-26. The State Transportation Improvement Program items were pushed to the February 4th meeting. And finally, on Tuesday, which is tomorrow, from 10 to 2, they'll have a board workshop to discuss regional transportation plans, the regional sales tax measure, local roads first, and funding approach for the competitive grant cycle SB1 program. And let's see what else. That's employee recognitions. Sean Sheely, who's a bus driver for 10 years, had the consent items overview, noting that they primarily consisted of annual updates, grant authorizations, and ministerial approvals. Specific attention to item A11, which process awarded a contract to Ecolane for a new demand responding dispatch software system to replace the outdated system. Significant progress with the Teamsters, and I think they were supposed to ratify that on the 4th, but Maybe that's February 4th. It says January 4th, but I think I would have heard about that. I looked, I didn't see anything about it. But the talks went well, and I think there won't be any problems with the RTA Teamsters. Plans for public distribution for the final and red line collective bargaining agreement. Documents, you'll see them upon ratification. Focus on reoccurring and training additional bus operators. They really need bus drivers. If anyone out there would like to learn how to drive a bus, they train you. I think there's a $2,000 bonus sign up. Just to be hired, they'll give you $2,000. So those positions are available immediately. And there's also possible delays in launching the open loop fare system, originally scheduled for February 1st. And they're having a fare system. When you get on the bus, you can use a card, like a debit card. You can just tap, I guess you call it tap, or you can use your iPhone. So they're working on that. Hopefully they'll have that within the next couple of months on all the buses. Or maybe they were talking about rolling out slowly. Possible progress on phase 2 electric bus charging systems projected to be operational by the end of January. What else? I think that's a closed session to review Executive Director Jeff Straw's compensation. So that was closed session. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much.
A lot of information, and those meetings went really well.
I know.
Yeah,
I know. There's a lot of information in them. Yeah, and thank
great
you.
Organization. Mm-hmm.
Thank you to my alternates for going to those meetings for me. I was out of town, so I do appreciate you
welcome.
filling in for me. Okay, we will now. So that being said, I don't have any reports. So we will now move on to council communications, and I'll start with some general public comment questions and comments. I believe we've answered actually all of these questions, but for the public record, we had a speaker ask, how much did we spend on Central Coast Blue?
Back in spring of 2024, we answered a question from the speaker on this cost. The estimate was approximately $3 million that was spent between 2024 and 2018. The city withdrew from the project shortly after that, and we have not spent funding since then.
Okay, thank you. How much did cannabis profit in 2025?
Well, the word profit is a subjective word, but what I can say is that our cannabis tax revenues generate about $1 million annually in general revenues to support city services projects at the discretion of the council. We also have a cannabis permit fee that is intended to offset a good part of the cost of compliance. And so in this current fiscal year, we have $150,000 estimated in cannabis permit revenue. The costs right now are about $290,000. And so that is the police, mainly police cost of overseeing a very safe and responsible industry. I'll hold our oversight program up to anybody in how we carry out our work with our cannabis businesses through the dedicated police detective position that oversees this work and works closely on background checks and making sure that our cannabis retailers and businesses operate safely.
Thank you. My last question was on oversight, and you answered that, so thank you very much. The next thing, we heard many comments about heights and development, and I believe our staff is working with developers on comments on this project that was mentioned many times tonight. My understanding is that it is not submitted yet. It's just in the pre-application, and in addition to that, when it comes to state housing law, we're limited in regards to heights, and the workshop that we have mentioned before moving forward, even though we do have a lot of things to discuss, we're limited on the height discussion. Can you speak to that, Ms. Thompson?
Yes, so as you mentioned, state law generally preempts local law when it comes to housing, or at least informs local regulations or local policy or ordinances. And one of the ways that it does that is through the housing element and the regional housing needs allocation. And so the city expects to get its 6th cycle RHNA, regional housing needs allocation numbers, in the spring. And so the plan that staff and I have discussed is bringing to the City Council and the Planning Commission a study session on generally how the city can regulate housing, to what extent it can, whether that's heights or other things, and then also how those RHNA numbers will impact what the city wants to do with its regulations and ordinances. So hopefully that answers your question.
I think that does. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. I understand there are a lot of comments on the heights, and I think it's just time to get more education out there, discuss, and move forward with this, especially with RENA coming back to us in the spring. We need to have the data in front of us, see the numbers in front of us before we make decisions and have these discussions moving forward. So that being said, that's the start of our council communications. So I will now call on council member, go ahead.
And I just have a clarification on that, because when it came up at our last meeting, there wasn't a date set yet for that study session. Have we gotten closer to knowing that date?
Not at this time. We're looking at, I think RENA numbers are supposed to come out in April from what we hear from SLOCOG and the state of California. So we would like to have those numbers in place to take a look at them so that we can report out on the data for new housing production targets the city has to meet in the next 8 years, and then having the study session shortly after that.
Okay, and I know I asked last time too, as far as the nature of that study session and giving council direction. So theoretically, and stuff during that study session, on the issue of heights, other different things that are seen within the legal jurisdiction and ability of the city council, at that study session could give direction to staff to do certain things, to change things if it's within the legal ability. Is that correct? Or at least to direct staff to take the next steps to do such things.
Right. So the so the hope is that the study session would give you in the Planning Commission a clear picture of what you can and can't do with respect to housing law and local ordinances. And so at that study session, you could direct staff to come back with an item to the city council to consider whatever it is that you decide at that meeting that you want to consider. So you wouldn't take any action during a study session, but rather just discuss, ask questions, hear from the community, and then provide direction.
Okay, and so right now the holdup is waiting for the RENA numbers, basically, as far as the scheduling of it. Is that what I'm hearing?
It's a key driver, along with the kind of schedule needs that we have with two different bodies in getting coordination together in place. But I think from staff perspective, the RENA numbers really provide a data point to say, this is where we have to go in the future, in addition to where we are today. And that's really the kickoff of the housing element update that we'll be taking on over the next fiscal year.
Okay. I'll have to think about that a little bit more then. Thank you.
Did you have comments? Well, I mean, we can't go super into it.
Yeah.
That's why I'm trying not to say anything.
It's kind of a moot point, though, if we're waiting so long and then we get all these approvals for these buildings that are going to be there, we can't change that. That's the problem.
There's,
I guess I would just, and city attorney will probably look at us for a moment on items not agendized. Right now, nothing has been submitted in a formal application. So there's nothing has been submitted formally, and there is some additional analysis being done. So nothing is scheduled imminently before the Planning Commission at this time prior to the study session.
So I guess where I'm confused is why can't we get it on the agenda before then so we can discuss these problems?
excuse me.
So we can discuss this. Because we can't discuss, we're already probably too far into it.
I think that it's, are you going to stop me?
No, I mean, I think talking about whether or not to bring the item back is perfectly fine when you start discussing, the merits.
Okay, I got it now. Okay, so if the council would like to bring it back, then that's a consensus that we have to have. I would recommend not doing it because we need the data before us. If we make all these decisions moving forward, that we're changing heights or that we're moving setbacks, et cetera, and then RENA comes back and says that we need to build 1,000 new homes. Those are fake numbers. Make that clear. If they say we need to build 1,000 new homes, or you're going to be fined, where builder's remedy is going to come in. I really want to set our city up for success to follow state law.
It's my understanding that if we need to build those houses, we can increase heights in different areas of the city to build the housing instead of walling off the front of our city.
I do think we're straying into discussing.
That's why it needs to be on the agenda, I think.
Okay.
That's what I think. Okay.
Maybe though, without getting into the substance part too, because if we're basically waiting for the arena numbers, that's one thing. Because our processes, even in ordinance changes, have first and second hearings, we don't move super quickly. So I wouldn't mind us having the study session earlier since it's information that's currently in law as we speak right now anyway. And then the arena point could be something that does inform things as we go forward with other parts. Because yes, we could always say, hey, give direction this too, and then the arena numbers come out, and then it's like, well, that turned out to be a moot point too. I mean, those things, like I said, our processes in government tend to go slow. Basically, stuff for the public process and stuff for a reason. So it's something as far as having the informational side up front early, I wouldn't mind because, like I said, I don't foresee, the way that we have first and second readings in our ordinances that things move super quickly anyway.
Okay, would March be a better time to do this? And do we have consensus from the council to have this study session, let's say in March?
I think having the study session and possibly ending up having two makes the most sense and moving as quickly as realistic for staff without making unreasonable burdens. We clearly have a lot of big feelings around this, and I think education's powerful. And I'm venturing into my public comments, so make sure I don't cross the line here. But the comment was made that, the buck stops with us. And unfortunately, there's multiple forces. It is not just public opinion, and it's not and can you ascertain public opinion? I'm looking forward to getting the study, the survey. My sense is when I talk to people, which I do a lot, it's about 50-50. So I don't even know how you would call it, but we'll get the survey and we'll see if my sense is anywhere close, which happy to be wrong. So you have, how do you ascertain really public opinion? And if it's kind of split, where do you go? You have the fact that a lot of this happens in the free market, and that's the free market, and then state law, and then that's where we get to have public opinion. So the more education our public has, the better informed their opinion can be, and the more powerful their actions can be to get as much as they can out of what the actual options are. So if we do two study sessions, great.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
So am I hearing consensus from the council to ask staff to push it up to March? I think that's probably the soonest that we can get on the ball.
There's a fair amount
here.
of work that would go on to this. So I would feel comfortable with a March time frame if that was the council direction.
Okay. And this is a study session with the Planning Commission. So that this would be a meeting that is not on one of our usual meeting nights. We're not replacing it with one of our meetings. We are adding a meeting in March.
That would be staff's intent unless council deeded otherwise.
I mean, I'm always fine if we have a light agenda to put in the 1-2 because that's predictable in schedules. And I would say that because March, if you say March and April, if you say early April and late March, it sounds the same. So I think that intention, if in February, it's great too, but also if that's not possible, then the earlier meeting in March would be ideal versus, like I said, if it's the second meeting in March, then it's not much of a difference in the first meeting in April. So that's kind of my take as far as the timeliness.
Okay.
Not that I don't think going as quick as you can, but I think that was a false dichotomy because just we're thinking we're going to get the numbers in April. We're not going to turn around arena meeting in April. So we're not comparing late March to early April. We're comparing getting as quick as we can, hopefully early March, to really an unknown time that might not be till June or the middle of the summer because we don't have those control of all those variables.
Okay.
And I'll take that as a fair point, yes.
Okay, good. All right. Do we have that direction?
We will look at March and coordinate schedules from there.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments before Ms. Thompson shuts us down? No? Okay. Well, then we'll go on to council communications, the actual council communications, and I'll start with Councilmember McCory Driscoll.
Just a couple quick things. Thank you to city staff and Parks and Rec. Had a great time at the parade. I know it's been a month ago, but we haven't met since then. And so really thoroughly enjoyed that. Another big thank you to all the new committee appointees that meet tomorrow. I was very impressed with all the great applicants. Seeing 11 people come out and apply to be on committees shows me that I think we are going in the right direction with community outreach. So I was very proud of that. Looking forward to getting the survey out to the community because I do think that's important. And I don't want to steal Jules' thunder, so if Jules would just kindly mention on what's going on with the chamber on Wednesday. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, Councilmember Tuggle.
I was also going to talk about the Chamber's business training. I've been able to attend some, and they've been really great. It's just an amazing resource to have. But it is State of the County on Wednesday morning, so 8 a.m. Rise and Shine. The parade was amazing. Also got to tour Cleaver and Clark, our affordable housing unit. Not only is it amazing, it's a reminder that we cannot require any developer to build affordable housing, but we can incentivize it. And the donation of the land made that project feasible from Grover Beach. So without that, that would have been, wouldn't have penciled out for the builders. So, or for the organizations that work in homeless that would need to get a builder. Chamber training and the parade was so fun. And I coach swimming in the community, and I heard a little boy go, "That's my coach." And it's just fun when your whole world comes together, and that's what is community. So thanks for everybody that made that possible.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Wyrick.
Since it's been a month, if you could just be patient, I'll just go through it all so I don't have to come later. But yes, holiday parade, no rain, we got to do it. That was awesome. And I always think it's kind of cool to see how people get creative with the theme. For those who saw me, I was not creative. Everyone else here probably was way more. But as far as the different businesses, nonprofits, community organizations, especially those who won their little awards too and stuff, it's always good to see everyone kind of and everyone just come out and have fun too with their kids, their dogs, their grandparents, their friends. And then the next few things too are kind of grouped into one area. Is our California State Senator Monique Limon, who represents District 21, which Grover Beach falls into. 3 different things I got to attend more ceremoniously related to that, since in November she did take over as leader of the state Senate, which is called the Senate President Pro Tempore, or Pro Tem as some say. So on Monday, December 15th, I attended with others here, the League California Cities, aka Cal Cities, our Channel Counties division, which has San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, and Ventura counties, their mayors and city managers reception with the Senate President Pro Tem Monique Limon, and I attended. Obviously, I'm not a mayor, but I'm the division's second vice president. So it's good to see a turnout from all the different cities and stuff that are constituents of hers, including ours, since we're the only city in San Luis Obispo County that's a constituent of hers. And for her to emphasize to all of us that local government voices are still very important to her, and especially knowing the impacts of state legislation. So even though she's going to be busy in her new role to address a lot of state needs, that she still wants to hear from us. And then a couple things last week is I was invited and attended her formal swearing in the Capitol on Monday, January 5th. And she was sworn in by the California Supreme Court Chief Justice, Patricia Guerrero. And she had a lot of her colleagues in the state legislature were there, including all the constitutionals like governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, et cetera. And one thing she'd mentioned during her kind of formal speech as far as things that motivate her is family. And it turns out in the Senate gallery above the Senate floor is where this was happening, because she said about 149 members of her family from both sides of her and her husband's family showed up. It's pretty evident up there because different parts of her story, like literally different parts of that gallery, like cheer up about things too. So apparently got to meet a lot of her family that was up there, and family some she's clearly proud of too, and also trusted by her colleagues. And then last Friday, January 9th, was her swearing in ceremony. That was in her district, which is the District 21st that we're in. And for that one, she was sworn in by former United States Vice President Kamala Harris. There was about 500 attendees from the district, including one other. Actually, I did recognize one other resident from Grover Beach who was there. They were in their work role, but that was always nice to see. And it was clear from many of her mentors there that she's definitely a product of the Central Coast, to the point where it was actually held in the junior high school she went to growing up in Santa Barbara. So those were nice ceremonial parts too. And then a couple little things too. On Sunday, January 4th, thanks Mayor Pro Tem for those pancakes at the Grover City Grange Pancake Breakfast. Always helping. It's always good to support our local historical Grange and their work. And on Saturday, December 13th, the Filipino community of San Luis Obispo County, which had at their Christmas party at the Filipino Community Center in Grover Beach. Lively night with a lot of cultural performances and celebrating the season. And then earlier that day on Saturday, December 13th, I attended the American Legion Post 136, which is essentially our South County's American Legion, their National Wreaths Across America Day for their 2025 ceremony in Wreath Lane. I sponsor a wreath usually every year, and there's plenty of volunteers who helped out, even though it was raining just a tiny bit, but not much. So we were able to get it done pretty quickly and put the wreaths on the graves of our local veterans buried at the Royal Grande Cemetery, and to remember their names and honor their service. And I even got a mention apparently on their social media. And I already did sponsor a wreath for next year, so yes, you can sponsor wreaths already, apparently for December of 2026. And that's all I have to report.
All right, thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem?
Well, thank you for coming out to Pancake Breakfast. It was cloudy and rained a little bit, so we only had 92 people come out, which is the lowest since I've been doing it, 12 years, that we've had. Anyway, I did want to clarify something. Terry Wingate with AARP came up tonight and asked for the donation, and typically in the past years we've done that as a consensus with council after he spoke. Do we need to get a consensus to donate that for the taxes?
Staff would look to the council for that. They haven't paid us for similar work in years past, so
right.
That's been the practice thus far.
Okay, can we get a consensus on that?
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. And I think that was it there, but I had a meeting with a young man, Patrick Sneed. He's with the Coalition Against Bigger Trucks, and I agreed to join personally opposing larger trucks in California. These are trucks they're trying to get a bill passed. It would be over 80,000 pound limits. That they're not limited to 80,000 pounds, and they're also trying to get it so they can carry 3 trailers on one, which I haven't seen in California. I know other states have it. 2 trailers, to me, when I was driving trucks back in the 70s, they called them widowmakers. So I don't know what they call 3 trailers behind a truck. That's crazy. But I was hoping maybe we can get a consensus to look at it and get it on our legislation platform to oppose. It's called CABT, Coalition Against Bigger Trucks. And they don't pay any more taxes, and the infrastructure that they damage is considerable on these large trucks. And the safety of it in the last 10 years have just been terrible, terrible. So I don't know if you
We will be receiving we'll be discussing our legislative platform next meeting, is that correct?
Next meeting, right.
Okay.
That's why I bring it up now.
That's correct. And if council wanted us to take a look at this, we could include this in the analysis in the ledge platform, and then council could deliberate further on the 26th.
Okay. Do we have consensus on that? Yes?
Just to look at it, yeah. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And that was it.
Okay, thank you. I think everybody said my council communications as well regarding the parade. It was wonderful. And then, yes, there's some struggles happening in the train world. So an excavator fell into the railroad. So I was taking the train, being a good CRCC member and the Coast Rail Coordinating Council member. And I had to take the bus from Grover to, or I was scheduled to take the bus from Grover to Santa Barbara because an excavator fell into the tracks. So no trains and for maybe another week or so. Just FYI. So, I know. Yeah, it's going to be changed. So, anyways, yeah, that's right. Okay. So now on to city managers' reports and comments.
Excuse me, Ms.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's. Yes.
So could you address that, please? Have you looked at the pictures?
Excuse me. Okay, so we'll address it after, I believe, we've been in discussion with Ms. Westfall, and so we can follow up with Ms. Westfall via the communications that we've been receiving. Okay, well, we need to be prepared to answer this question regarding the water meters. I think that we've been still looking into it with Ms. Morningstar. City Manager, would you like to speak to that by any chance?
Just briefly, I'm not aware of the particular issue that has come forward in the last few months. I know that there was some initial work by our staff working with Ms. Westfall on the residents' behalf. We'd be glad to talk to them further after the meeting to get more information and determine to what degree this may be a leak issue, meter issue, or other issue. We don't know enough to be able to weigh in this evening on that, but we will work with them offline.
Yes, and if anybody's having an issue with their water meter, I would really encourage them to reach out to our city staff to get it addressed, because I know that there are a lot of things that go into it, whether it be leaks, meter inconsistencies, damaged meters, things like that. So, yeah, we understand. Thank you very much. Excuse me. Thank you very much. Okay, city managers' reports, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just two items. One, I touched on earlier, the Citizens Oversight Committee meetings for tomorrow. Just to clarify that these are open Brown Act public meetings, so they are open to the public to join and weigh in and provide comments. So tomorrow at 3 p.m., the Transaction Use Tax Committee, and then 4 p.m. or the conclusion of the previous meeting for the Measure K14 Oversight Committee. That's tomorrow, and then the reports from those meetings, if recommended, will go to your council for approval at the January 26th meeting. And then just going back a few weeks, we had a lot of rain over the holiday period. Hard to believe with the sunshine we've had the last couple of days, but it rained a lot back in mid to late December, early January. We had quite a bit of water in our community. Our public works and police and fire crews, first responders did a magnificent job making sure our community was safe. We reported no major incidents across our community. A few limbs came down. We did have a tree come down at 12th and El Camino Real that was removed fairly quickly. One thing to report is that the West Grand Avenue area was not flooded, which we've seen so many times in years past. Heck, my first year here, we had somebody surfing down the gutters on West Grand Avenue. So putting in the giant storm drain in this section of West Grand Avenue has really paid off in minimizing flooding, minimizing drainage issues, so that it's a modern street infrastructure right here in the heart of our community. So we're really pleased by that investment. Lopez Lake is fairly full. Certainly we could use some more water and helping to preserve our water needs going forward. With that, I will close. Thank you.
Thank you. City Attorney reports and comments, and if you could lead us into closed session.
Sure, I have nothing to report, and the City Council will meet in closed session to discuss conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation pursuant to paragraph 4 of subdivision D of section 54956.9 of the Government Code, deciding whether to initiate litigation, one case.
All right, thank you. I will now open for public comments on this item. I don't have any speaker slips if anybody wishes to come forward. Seeing nobody coming forward, is there anybody on the line? I will now close for public comments, and we will head into closed session.